Hi there, I'm Roux. Welcome to my video. Last week we ventured into the nice guys and the Neckbeards. And since you loved it so much, we're gonna do it again! This time, it's nice guys with a little sprinkle of incel. This video's shout out goes to Starlight Feather. I just loved your comment. It was just epic. Neckbeard, the lonely redditor, can often be found in the depths of their parents' dens, leaving only to eat or in the futile search for a mate. Its special attack is fake tears, which lowers defense. Nice Guy, the deceptive redditor, the evolved form of Neckbeard. More outgoing than its previous form, it will attempt to lure females in by false pretenses, but will quickly drop the act if found out. Its special attack is Pursuit. Pursuit does more damage to a foe trying to flee. Incel, the embittered redditor, the evolved form of the nice guy. Having abandoned the quest of finding a mate, this redditor has become aggressive. It despises the females it failed to trick and lashes out at them on sight. Its special attack is Toxic. Toxic gains more and more damage the longer the battle drags. I may be a nerd, but I'm a proud nerd. I am also a nerd. And I gotta say, you're a fabulous nerd, Starlight Feather. Excuse me, madame, but I have been curious as to what you look like under those tasteful fabrics you were wearing earlier. Perhaps you would concede me the honor of photographing your delightful flesh so that I may gaze upon your beauty. Did you just ask for nudes? You owe me! Overheard conversation. So this group of guys are sitting in the lounge at my college, and one is complaining about how he can't get anyone to go out with him, and his buddy proceeds to say, if someone asks you on a date, you owe it to the person to go out with them, even if you don't see yourself ever dating them. If you say no, you're a shitty person. It's your duty to give them a chance. Yikes. Just yikes. If that kind of behavior was a Pokemon, I feel like it's like the disturbing evolution from, if this person just knew me, they would know we would be perfect for each other. If they just gave me a chance. And then it just evolved into, you owe me if you don't give me the chance. The Hamburglar. I once dated the Hamburglar variation of a nice guy, and to this day, I'm glad I didn't sleep with him. He's one of the dudes who believed women's vaginas got ruined and loose from too much sex and had zero knowledge of female anatomy, despite me trying to explain it. Anyway, he also had weird anger issues and would try to justify his flaws by being medicated and kept saying, I'm toxic, I'm bad. As though that validated when he was, because he didn't have to get better if he warned me, right? I'd be the dumb cow if I stayed with him, right? Well, I was like 16, so I was pretty dumb, and I did. He dropped out of his AP classes one day suddenly and got a factory job and then kicked his stepmother's tiny little dog out of frustration and tried to justify it by saying, they're trying to make me love him like he was my old dog, but he's not my dog. He can't be replaced. As though that justified kicking a small animal just for existing because he was mad about something unrelated? That was the moment I broke up with him. Anyway, why was he the Hamburglar, you may wonder? Well, I discovered he didn't want to have dinner with his step-parent and further didn't want to learn to cook, and then would say he's too tired to learn. And then, shit you not my dudes, pulled open his top dresser drawer where y'all keep your socks and vibrators, and it was just a wall-to-wall stacked with cheebs. Cheeseburgers. Cheeseburgers everywhere! One on top of the other, neatly Tetrised into his drawer, bought in bulk from McDonald's. He unwraps one, cold, dead-ass eats it in front of me, and then passes out tiredly on his bed. I left him that day. Ew, that's meat. Like, I'm a vegan, so I don't eat meat anymore, so I think meat is just gross anyways. But even from a non-vegan standpoint, that meat is gonna go bad. Like, keeping meat in like a room temperature environment for a long time and then eating it? Ew. Ew. That kind of reminds me of a romantic story that I have about my boyfriend and I. So I had an apple that I kept eating, and I kept leaving it in my bedroom because my bedroom is pretty cold. And then he just finds it and he's like, oh my God, what is this old ass decomposing looking apple doing here? And I'm like, I'm just eating it. And he looks at me and he's like, I'm sorry, you're still eating it? And I'm like, How long have you been eating it? A couple of days, maybe a week. And he's like, do you want, And I'm like, do you want some? And he's like, no! Horrified. For some strange reason, he still likes me and we're still together. Anything you can do, I can do better. I can do anything better than you. I cannot deal with this guy for another day. I finally encountered a real neckbeard. Yes, he does have a neckbeard. The troublesome part is, he's also taking a certification course I'm on, and I can't stand him. He is driving every female trainee insane. The first few days, people started avoiding him really quickly. He went to the cafeteria and drank with one student, and as soon as we went back into the lecture hall, she grabbed her things and came to sit at the opposite end. By day 3, he was the only trainee eating lunch by himself. On day 4, I thought I figured out the problem. His shoes stink. Positively reek of rotting fabric and sweat. Turns out, that is the least of it. He is extremely condescending of all of us non-native English speakers, but especially the females, while he intently stares at the only European trainee during an entire lecture. He randomly interrupts us to slowly ask things like, "Can you understand this text?" Or, "Are you familiar with this word?" I constantly want to remind him that we are all at the same level of this certification because we have a postgrad in English, linguistics, or similar. Not just him. He slows down his speech whenever he has to address us in class or practice, talking the same way you would to a person with hearing loss in a crowded bar. He corrects the Asian trainees so much the tutors have twice had to remind the class that we are dissecting the English language, and with this comes being mindful of the multiple accents English can have, be it because you were born in Scotland, or Australia, or Jamaica, or because you learned it as a second language and achieved an above standard level of proficiency, even if your pronunciation of R and I is weak or you drag your O's. It was clearly directed at him, but he doesn't seem to notice. The passing of time has made him more confident. This morning was the tipping point for many of us, as he kept making remarks about a non-native trainee who passed an examination with much higher grades than him. He was rambling about how this girl must have plagiarized her essay, how the tutors have got it against him, and cut him out on technicalities. This girl was sitting at the very same table, and when he referred to her again, she calmly said, "I'm right here, my name is Kimmy, and at 31 I qualify as a woman. Also, I most certainly didn't plagiarize my essay." This made him very cross, and he went on a tirade about feminist bullshit, and how everyone wants to be offended nowadays. At that moment, the lecturer came in and everyone took their seat and went silent. He sat next to me to continue his rant in a whisper. "Why can't I call a girl a girl? You call your daughter a good girl, right? You know she's being a bitch only to show off the grade she got, right? Koreans are always cheating." I told him to be quiet. I have a lot hanging on the balance. I cannot risk missing anything because Mr. Jerk won't shut up. He literally said, "You do not silence me, woman." Luckily, the tutor got it and asked him to move seats and be quiet. After the lecture, I received the grade for my essay, standard passing. This again got him going about how the dirty Mexican must have cheated too, while standing 2 feet away from me. He is now certain that the girls are getting passing grades because we must be seducing the tutors. The oldest trainee in our class called him out on it, and he simply walked out and left him talking to the door. I am not a violent person, but listening to him speak in his "you're an idiot, and I'm not" tone absolutely infuriates me. I simply cannot afford to be the one who stirs any shit here, but I can't think of a way to get through 11 more weeks of studying this extremely demanding course, while this idiot is in the same room. Thanks for reading me. But then, you guys, there's an update. Yes, an update. Yes. I've been watching a little bit too much of SNL and Kristen Wiig. She's awesome. Yes, excited for the update. Update. The Neckbeard has left the building. Study has really ramped up and a lot of people are looking extremely stressed due to the long hours and mountains of homework. Last Friday, I caught wind of someone making a formal complaint, and today, he dug his own grave. From the get-go, we were assigned into small groups to brainstorm on the best way to design teaching materials. He got assigned to a group of 4 like everyone else. And 2 minutes in, he just pushed his chair away from the table and loudly announced that he could not do any work because of the language barrier. The tutor immediately reminded him that everyone needs to provide equal input and have a proper piece of teaching material designed and printed by the end of the day. So he better get on it. He went apeshit, saying how they of course were going to fail him when it was simply these Asians' fault that he couldn't do anything. People around him chimes in that they were perfectly able to work with their teammates. A Chinese trainee, male, happily chimes in from the back of the room, "You talk with me all day with no problem, mate." His teammate looked somewhere between insulted and about to cry. She's working super hard to achieve the top certification award and doesn't need any of this shit. He gets called to see the assessor. His shouting can be heard throughout the building. He seriously thinks he's the one being discriminated against and keeps saying how this country has been sold off to China. I assume he was asked to leave the building. After tea break, his things were gone and we were told observed practice schedules will change from today as he has ditched the course. He decided he'd walk away from a course that costs thousands of dollars and earns you international certification rather than apologize to females of a race different from his. Good riddance. Oh my god. I love the fact that he assholed himself out, like he shot himself in the leg. Like he was such an asshole, he literally was like, well then I'm just gonna point this gun of hatred that I have and shoot myself in the leg then. That'll show them. I just love it when people like this are like, well, the only reason that I got a lower grade is because vaginas exist. And they existed in society when I took the test. It's not because they're smarter than me. No, because obviously, it has nothing to do with brains. The fact that I have my genitals hanging outside my body makes me smarter. This is so pathetic. Do you know how pathetic you sound to everyone? The gatekeeper. I think I was rude to a neckbeard? Let me preface this by saying I'm not usually like this. A lot of things have to be in the wrong place for me to start acting this way. Unfortunately today, all of those things were in place. I had to go into town to do some grocery shopping I had been putting off until I was in a better place mentally. But I couldn't push it any longer and I thought maybe getting out of the house might actually help. I had music on my phone and I was in my most comfortable clothes. And I was feeling good. I got my food and to treat myself, I decided to pop into the music/movie shop to pick up a new copy of a CD my dog had got to, unfortunately. As I was going through trying to find the band name, there was this guy watching me. He wasn't being subtle about it either. Normally I chalk that sort of thing up to my paranoia, but no, he was turning to stare at me every few seconds, it felt like. I'd move and he'd follow. And I'd move and he'd follow, crowding my personal space. I don't want to be rude, but he's a big guy. Tall and heavyset, scraggly facial hair, not really a beard, just some patchy hair. And he smelled really, really bad. We were in the metal and hard rock. Now, I have wild taste. Some days I'm in a Disney mood, some day hard banger, sometimes classic, sometimes emo music. I find music helps me when I'm writing and drawing. What I was listening to today was some orchestral anime music that was light and calm. I took my headphones out to ask him what he wanted, but before I could talk, he says, "Your music is over there," and pointed at the pop section. I was kind of surprised and thought maybe he thinks I'm lost because I'm not finding the band name and thought I was in the wrong section. It was a little annoying the way he said, "your music." But hey, whatever, right? I'm trying to boost my mood, give the guy the benefit of the doubt, and ignore it. "Oh, no, I'm looking for band. I know it's here." snorts rudely, but doesn't say anything. After a moment, I managed to find the album I wanted, but flipped to the back to double check. There are 2 versions, one that has a couple of live songs as well, and one that's just the music. I wanted the music. Never been a big fan of the live stuff. Oh hey, great, I was looking for that. He grabs it from my hand to join like 7 other cases in his other hand. Annoyance and anxiety are spiking, but okay, cool, easy, I'm telling myself to stay calm. Positive is I helped the guy, that's a good thing. I'm helpful. Downside, that looked like it was the last one. So I went up to the counter on the off chance they might have another copy in the back. Or maybe I could order it in. As I'm talking to the guy at the register, Neckbeard comes up to the next one to me and butts in. Oh, she doesn't need that. Now to the cashier's credit, he looked startled. I do. Unfortunately, my dog got in my room and decided my copy would be fun to eat. I tried to laugh to help myself relax more than anything. The cashier laughs and says his dog eats stuff too, but has never gotten to his CDs before. Neckbeard is either annoyed we're ignoring him or just really wants to make a point because he butts in again, ignoring his cashier. You shouldn't be listening to good music like this. That pop crap is best for girls like you. I like pop, you're right, but I like metal too. You can't like metal. You're a girl. Well, I do, and I'm trying to order my CD. Please leave me alone. At this point, my cashier is typing on his computer, looking up my disc to place the order. They didn't have any other copies except the one Neckbeard has snatched from me. I'm past the hump of scared paranoia and steamrolling pretty fast into I don't need this shit mood. I don't like being in that kind of mood, and I don't like being rude or a nasty person because after I come down I feel so awful and guilty, so I kept trying to find ways to redirect my brain, justify his behavior, and end the conversation. No, you can't have the CD. You can't like that band. You're a girl, and not even a hot girl. You should be at home hiding in your bowl of ice cream crying over Twilight. Sir, I'm going to have to ask you to return to your purchase and stop harassing other customers. You can't talk to me like that. I'm disabled. It's discrimination. You need to tell her to leave. She'll upset all the other customers. Sir, please, return to your cashier, purchase your music, and leave. No, you can't make me leave. It's discrimination. She can't have that band CD. She's an ugly girl. Only hot girls like metal and rock. He's hollering at this point, my head hurting. I half want to cry, embarrassed and ashamed because yeah, I'm not pretty and I am overweight. And half want to yell at this guy. Guess which half won? Me, probably louder than I needed to be, but I was mad. I didn't realize you listen to music through your dick. If that's the case, how are you allowed to listen to it? Yes, I took a pot shot at him having a small dick. I know it was mean and unfair and rude, but he was so mean to me. And I had had enough. He gets all teary, called me several bad names, including the C word, and stormed out, leaving his CDs on the counter, and trying to slam the shop door. It has one of those slow arms, though, to stop slamming, so it just slowly shut. And he ran off. I have no idea who he is, where he went, or what happened to him after. The cashier who was helping me pointed out the CD I wanted was in his pile, but I was too upset. I simply said I would come pick up the copy I ordered. Paid, thanked him, and then apologized. After that burst, I lost my steam of anger and just felt like a terrible person. I still feel like a jerk. I know that was a low blow, and what if he really was autistic? I am, but I'm high functioning, so maybe he was like me? I don't know, but I needed to partly vent and partly ask if I was mean and an awful person. I mean, it seems kind of sexist to say girls can't like metal and rude to say only pretty girls can like music. Girl, you were not being mean. He had it coming. He had it coming. He only had himself to blame. If he didn't want to be called out on his bullshit, he shouldn't have started it. Yellow fever taking on the ladies. Incel hates my Chinese husband. So, long backstory short, she's an attractive Scottish/Latina lady who's married to a Chinese guy. Let the experience begin. Many years back, while we were still struggling, we were at a party at an art gallery being thrown for my father-in-law by the owner. Several of his paintings were on display and we were talking to some other couples when some guy we didn't know came up to us. He was soft looking, in his 30s with wispy, oily brown hair cut short. He was casually dressed in slacks, a dress shirt, and a jacket. His face was as oily as his hair and his eyes were small and mean. He had a pinched, rather pissy expression on his face as he glared at us. I had never heard of an incel at this time in my life, but based on the stories you've narrated and the things he said and did, he was an incel. A big one. He stopped in front of us, ignored me entirely, focusing completely on my husband, who he then gave major attitude. He told my husband he had no business with a white girl. Who, me? Said he should stick to his own people. He said rich chinks like him were stealing all the good white females from guys like him, and that he was probably a cuck anyway. Had to look it up. It's when someone's wife is cheating on you, but you're with them anyways. They have so many interesting words, the incel community. He then pushed my husband's shoulder, turned to me, and called me an Asiaphilic whore. I think everyone froze for a couple of seconds like we were in a painting before all hell broke loose. Before I even finished my go fuck yourself numbnuts response, I actually knew what he meant. My husband, without saying one word, punched him once in the face, hard. He went down and just laid there, flat on his back, clutching his right eye. He actually seemed surprised my husband had hit him. Considering what he'd said, I was surprised my husband hadn't ripped his head off and drop-kicked it out the door. Hell, I was thinking about doing that when the host ran up and asked what happened. "He punched me in the eye!" the guy wailed before any of us could even open our mouths. He then went on to say we attacked him unprovoked and that he wanted the cops called. My husband just stood over him, giving him what I can only describe as a death glare as the guy bitched and wailed. The others in our group who'd seen the whole thing said what really happened. They even pointed out that since he touched my husband first, that it was self-defense. Since the host was a good friend, and this was a party celebrating my father-in-law, coupled with the eyewitness testimony, the guy was booted. Turned out he'd come there with his brother, invited himself along to see if there were any females that weren't sluts and whores there. His words, apparently. And when he saw me, an apparent white girl with an Asian man, he got so offended that he felt he had to put the uppity Asian in his place. Apparently, he thought Asians were non-confrontational. The brother, who was tracked down and who, after getting the whole story, was appalled and disgusted by his older brother's behavior. He sent him home on the bus because he felt he deserved a 90-minute ride back. Then called their dad, I think, and told him what he'd done. He apologized a lot, but we told him it wasn't his fault and got him a drink. The rest of the night went well, but I caught my husband looking at the door several times. I don't need to ask him what he was thinking. I knew. He wanted that guy to come back so he could kick his ass in earnest. But he never did. So that was my first incel experience, but not my last. Ooh, ominous last words, Raven Fox. Indeed. Do share. I love how the guy thought that Asians are non-confrontational. Girl, almost all martial arts are from Asia. It's just they're really good at focusing their confrontation in like a really skilled manner. And that's why you should never assume that you're gonna win if you pick a fight with someone who you think is Asian and that, I don't know, it's just really racist all around. Not that all Asians know martial arts, that's also a racist assumption. But you know, it really disgusts me, the people who are like, you're from my area, or you look like me, so you belong to me. You're not allowed to leave this area and find someone else. No, you have to pick between this shitty selection. And we don't have to improve ourselves because we fully expect you to have to pick between us. Yes. Like, oh my god. Stop telling us to be nice. This happened in grade 10 and 11 for me. Thought I would share my first look at a neckbeard. I should mention that I'm a very petite girl, also a goth, and I cosplay. I had just moved into a new town, and I finally developed a group of cool, nerdy guy friends. I'm a big nerd, so I love anime, video games, and cosplay. Within my group, I had some awesome friends who treated me like one of the guys. Except him. We will call him Carl. Carl was more heavyset, sometimes wore a fedora hat, and had a stench I can still remember to this day, unfortunately. We hung out all the time, but he rarely talked at first until he added me on Facebook. He would message me every day, all day, and I didn't think much of it because he was in my friend group. He started calling me Kohai and asked me to call him Senpai, which I did because I thought it was funny. Eventually, he started calling me weird names like my cutie little Kohai or my beautiful Kohai, stuff like that. And though I cringed when he said these things, I felt bad if I told him to stop, so I would instead awkwardly say thank you. Things escalated, and our other friends started feeling weird with how Carl was always with me. Like, I would be invited to hang out with another friend and he would jump in and invite himself also. I fluffed it off because I assumed he was like an older brother to me and I did enjoy talking with him. One day I was making plans to go with my female friend to her house for drinks, which I did most weekends with her, and I could invite one person of my choosing if I wanted. Carl heard this conversation and begged me to let him come because he really wanted to try alcohol, which I found out later he'd already tried before. Something to mention is, I was very stupid back then, and to cope with terrible things that were happening to me at home, I drank so much to the point of blackout all the time. Aww. I let him come to my friend's place. Everything was fine at first, and a few friends just shot the shit and got wasted. But this one girl, let's call her Bree, she was a little bit more heavy-set, a blonde, and very, very annoying. She would scream and laugh for no reason, sat down on the sofa with me. I was shit-faced and I could barely walk, but I was happy and laughing. Bree started touching me inappropriately all over, saying she was drunk, though she had nothing to drink, and I was horrified and I went completely still and no more laughing. Everyone saw how awkward this was. I'm bi, so it wasn't the fact that she was a girl, it was the fact that she didn't ask and tried taking advantage of me. Carl sees this and grabs me frantically, holding me like I was this property, and proceeded to say, "It's okay, Kohai, I have you now. I will never let go of my darling." Something like that. It's fuzzy to me. He didn't let me out of his arms, and at this point his smell and all the drinking, I was ready to throw up. I ran out finally and puked so much it hurt. But stupid me drank more afterwards to wash the taste out. People started to leave eventually, and I was going to stay at my friend's for the night. She was super nice and let everyone sleep over if they needed to. I went to sleep on the sofa and tried to sleep, but I was also throwing up on and off. Carl was on the sofa when I got back. He said his sofa was not comfy and he couldn't sleep, so I went to go sleep there instead. But no, Carl asked me to stay with him since he was there to see me anyways. The sofa was too small for two people, let alone a heavyset guy and me. I tried because I was too drunk to care where I slept, and I fell asleep. I wake up and he's gone. Shortly after, he comes back smelling like he took a dump. Like, I don't understand how he smelled worse than before. He takes my hand and asks me out. I fell asleep. Wake up and he's cuddling me and I move away quickly. "What's wrong, my precious Kohai? I thought we were in love since you said yes to being my girlfriend." I have no memory of saying yes, but I felt bad for him, so I went with it. I was moving away in a month or so anyways. Well, that was the worst way to deal with it. I had told him how I had my virginity taken away a few weeks before and how it was forced on me and I was traumatized. I'm so sorry, honey. This asshole pretended to care and tell me how gentlemen would never do such things. A week into our dating, he pressured me to sleep with him because I was moving away and he wouldn't have the chance again. He gave me some sob story on how he will never find love again. Eventually I said, okay, fine, after weeks of pressure, and in 2 weeks I'd be moving away. This is the gross part, guys. He put hentai on the TV and got naked and took my clothing off too. The smell was worse than ever, and I was like, what the fuck am I doing? He was hairy and sweaty and gross. He tried putting a condom on, but his dick was too small, it kept falling off. I kid you not, he wasted a whole box of condoms trying to get one on. I got fed up and ran to the bathroom and puked. That's how awful the smell was. I got dressed and ran out of the door. And he sent me so many messages and voicemails about how we were meant to be, and I was his only Kohai, and how I should listen to my senpai. To this day, I cringe at the words senpai, and I'm so glad I moved away. Please don't judge me too hard. I was so stupid and in a terrible place at the time. I really don't know what I was thinking. I am not judging you. This is the direct result of girls being raised, being told, you have to be nice. Don't hurt anyone's feelings. You have to be nice. Like the constant, like, smile more, be nice. Because you're constantly told that you're a bitch if you're not nice all the time. If you're not smiling all the time. If you're not pretending to be happy all the time. It's so detrimental. And I've been in this situation myself where it's like, oh, I don't want to hurt his feelings. I can't say no. I have to go along with this because he'll get so sad, because you're constantly being told that your feelings and your well-being is second to some guy's well-being because you have to be nice or you're a bitch and you're like an unpleasant person, and you're constantly fed this, and it's so damaging. This isn't your fault at all, honey. This is just society's fault. Okay, I'm not judging you at all. I'm on your side. And he is a predator. That's it for this time, you guys. I hope you had a swell time and that you enjoyed the stories I picked. Next time is going to be a real see my face sort of video where I investigate my DNA with my heritage DNA. Not to like any spoilers, but I've discovered some truly disturbing things about my genetics. Like I suspected it, but now it's confirmed. Oh my god. So, if you're into that, do come by next Friday, and then, per usual, after that, it's going to be more Reddit videos, but, once in a while, I'm going to post some real see my face videos, and hopefully you'll enjoy it. If you have some good stories that you want me to read, please join my Discord and submit your stories. On Sundays, sometimes I Twitch. Please join.